Okay, in this video, we are going to be talking about comparing and ordering fractions. So how do we tell which fraction is bigger? And then how do we put fractions in order from least to greatest or greatest to least? So there's a couple things to remember when doing this. So let's look at this box here at the top and go through a few examples together. So if you look at our first example, we have 3/5, 3/5, 2/3, and 1/2. And we want to compare those fractions, so determine which one is bigger than the other. But because they all have different denominators, we can't compare them until we get the same denominator. That would be like comparing apples and oranges. Not easy to do, so we need to find the common denominator. The way in which we find the common denominator is by thinking about what is the least common multiple of 5, 3, and 2. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to list the multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I'm going to stop there and see if I can find something within that set that will also work for 3 and 2. So if I do the same thing for 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. All right, well, I've got a common multiple already of 15, but I know that if I count by twos, I'm not going to land on 15, so I need to keep going. 18, 21, 24, 27, and 30. And lastly, I'm going to do this for twos. So simply counting by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, and 30. You will notice that the least common multiple between 5, 3, and 2 is 30. They all share that common multiple. So then you are going to set each fraction to 30ths. So you can see here 3/5 equals how many 30ths? 2/3 equals how many 30ths? 1/2 equals how many 30ths? Now, the way in which I determine what my new numerator is going to be is I say, what times 5 equals 30? 5 times 6 equals 30. Now, if I'm going to multiply by 6 in the denominator, I also have to do that in the numerator. So 3 times 6 gives me 18. So 3/5 and 18/30 are equivalent fractions. And I will do the same thing for 2/3 and 1/2. 3 times 10 is 30. So 2 times 10 equals 20. So 2/3 is equivalent to 20/30. 1/2, 2 times 15 is 30. 1 times 15 is 15. So 1/2 and 15/30 are also equivalent. In order to put them in order, I can now compare them because I have all of the same denominator, all of 30. So now I'm just comparing 15, then 18, then 20. So if I put them in order from least to greatest, we'll do that first. I would have 1/2, then I would have 3/5, then I would have 2/3. If I put them in order from greatest to least, it would be the opposite. 2/5, 2/3, 3/5, and 1/2. All right, let's jump down here and we're going to do a couple examples together and then I'm going to have you try a few on your own. So the first one we have is 3/4 compared to 1/8. I can't compare them because they have a different denominator, but I can look for the least common multiple between 4 and 8. So if I count by 4s, I have 4, 8, and then if I count by 8, I would start with 8. So 8 is my least common multiple. 1/8, I already have my denominator of 8, so I don't have to change that. but I do need to change 3/4 into 1/8. Now I'm thinking to myself, 4 times what equals 8? The answer is 2. Then I need to do the same thing on the top. 3 times 2 is 6. So 3/4 equals 6/8, and I want to compare that to 1/8. Then I know that 6/8 is bigger than 1/8. Okay, Hudson, I want you to try number 2. So pause the video, and I want you to try doing the same thing for number 2. And then I am going to do number 3. So we have 5/10 and 3/5. I need to find a common denominator. If I count by 5s, 5, 10, then 10. So I know my common denominator is going to be 10. This fraction is already in tenths, so I don't need to change it. 3/5 equals how many tenths? 5 times 2 is 10. So I'm going to do the same thing to the top. So 3/5 equals 6/10, and then I know 6/10 is bigger than 5/10. All right, I'm going to try number 4. I have 3/8 and 2/6. Again, I cannot compare them until I have a common denominator. So I'm going to list my multiples of 8, 8, 16, 24, 32. Then I'm going to do the same thing with 6. 6, 12, 18, 24. Bingo, I have my common denominator of 24. I then can put 3/8 equals how many 24ths? I'm going to think to myself, 8 times what is 24? The answer is 3. 8 times 3 is 24. 3 times 3 equals 9. So we have 9 24ths. 2/6 equals how many 24ths? 6 times 4 is 24. And 2 times 4 equals 8. So I have 9 24ths compared to 8 24ths. So if I rewrite that, 9 24ths compared to 8 24ths, I know that 9 24ths is in fact bigger. Okay, so you have tried number 2. I've done 1, 3, and 4. I'd like you to try the examples 5 through 8, and then check your answers to make sure that you have done it properly. And if you have any questions at all, please ask me.